So today, I'm setting out to play 50 competitive Pokemon games. I'm doing this because I want to see if Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise, being the original Kanto starters, if they could possibly be a viable competitive Pokemon team. This is a team I'm super excited to use. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to go back and use these older Pokemon. But apart from the nostalgia, I think there's some real potential here for this to be a solid group. I say that because you got Pokemon like Charizard, who boasts high special attack and speed. That helps make this Pokemon an incredible offensive threat. You got Blastoise, who offers solid bulk and utility. Utility like Rapid Spin that helps remove hazards like Stealth Rock. And it anchors the team defensively while still being able to deal damage with moves like Hydro Pump. And of course you have Venusaur, who provides versatility, a mix of offensive power with moves like Sludge Bomb and Giga Drain, as well as defensive capabilities, especially when using items like Assault Vest. This leads to a very well-rounded team with also lots of diversity in the types, being fire, water, and grass. So here's the Charizard, our first Pokemon. As you can see, the held item I went for is the Focus Sash. I opted for this instead of the Heavy Boots because my Blastoise knows Rapid Spin, so I'm hoping not to have to deal with too many hazards. As for moves, Charizard knows Air Slash, Terra Blast, Protect, and Flamethrower. I put Protect on Charizard here because I'm hoping to use Charizard as a scout, being my lead-off Pokemon. As for Blastoise, we put on Leftovers. This is an item that, will really play into Blastoise's defense and allow him to regen, as well as I put Protect on him, so we can hopefully get some good health gains mid-game. We also have Rapid Spin, Ice Beam, and Hydro Pump. Now let's take a look at Venusaur. Put on the Assault Vest because I'm really trying to build up the bulk on Venusaur. He's not going to be able to regen health, so let's play defensive with this guy. The moves we got here are Giga Drain, so we do have the potential to gain health. I needed Sludge Bomb because I needed anything to be effective against fairy types. We got Earth Power and Petal Blizzard. So I'm hoping that Venusaur can really go in and just sort of be a good blend of the other two. And with that being said, let's get into our first game. Oh boy, this is exciting. All right, here we go into our very first game with our Kanto starter team. As you can see, I lead with Blastoise because I like the ability to use Protect as well as a mix of being able to remove hazards that could get placed early game. But I go for the Ice Beam on Redhead there. Funny nickname. I get him down to half health. He hits me with something, not a big deal. My Leftovers just kind of deals with it. My Ice Beam was super effective, so I look to use another one on this turn and go for that kill. He uses Rollout on me, not that big a deal. My Ice Beam absolutely ends Redhead. That's his first Pokemon KO'd with my Blastoise, hardly feeling it at all, getting a little bit of Leftovers before he puts in his next Pokemon here. As you can see, our opponent puts in a little guy named Luigi, and I can see Ice Beam is still super effective, so I go for another one. And boom! Just like that, ladies and gentlemen, he's down to a third health. He comes at me with a Seed Bomb that just about gets me, but I survive by the skin of my teeth and a little bit of Leftovers. Luigi there, I guess he had the Toxic Orb because now he's poisoned. No, nothing's too bad, though. Here we go for another Ice Beam. Easy KO on Luigi. Blastoise is currently sitting at, I think it's going to be 24 HP after the Leftover. And we got this guy's final Pokemon, Shuri. And you know what? I'm like, I can just end this thing with a Hydro Pump. Let's try and get that move off. And I do. And kaboom. We won our very first game with a little Blastoise solo win. So let's hop into the next one. Here's our second game, and to be honest with you guys, this game was absolutely infuriating. This Toxapex, it's a water poison type, and it was introduced in Generation 7. This was the first time I've ever seen it, but man, it was absolutely infuriating. I just kept spamming Earth Power with Venusaur, and it just, man, it would not die. This thing just kept surviving. It kept protecting itself, and it just did everything necessary to just be a massive pain. Using Recover, man, half this game was me just trying to deal with this thing. But I didn't quit, man, I'll tell you that. I didn't quit. I just kept spamming Earth Power. That was my 6th time using Earth Power, and it's still alive, man. Because its moves keep failing, it keeps using Recover, and it just doesn't take damage. If you guys have a better way I could have approached this Pokemon, like for the future, please leave a comment down below, because I just don't know what to do, man. I tried my best. And then to see the Gengar, I've had some bad history with these Gengars using this Poison Orb, Poison Healing strategy. It is just horrible, because I feel like none of my Pokemon were really able to do anything. Hydro Pump is supposedly effective, but it took me forever to land it, and it still didn't die, man. It just kept using the Poison Orb to heal. Poison Healing must be one of the craziest things in the game, because that is definitely a strategy that I need to try if I'm going to get into competitive Pokemon the way I've been trying to. Eventually, I finally get that Hydro Pump that actually knocks out the Pokemon. But oh man, what was waiting behind it was brutal. It was this Oho. But you know what? In my head, I'm like, you know what? I got Blastoise out. Hit it with a Hydro Pump. Everything is going to be okay. But for some reason, my Hydro Pump only does a quarter of its health. Probably because it turned into a Fairy type. But this poison that's on my Blastoise ends up to really hurt me, man. Because this Oho can just sit behind a substitute and recover. Meanwhile, I'm taking damage the entire time. And he's hiding from the rest of my Water-type moves. And unfortunately, he gets the best of my Blastoise. So I have to send out Charizard, which is not a great look. Fire-type on Fire-type. But he's not really a Fire type right now. He's a Fairy type. But luckily, I got Air Slash. Not supposed to be a move that's fairly effective, right? So I go for it. And it ends up not really doing a ton to the Oho. And it eventually just, unfortunately, gets the best of my Charizard. And he beats me by not a massive margin, but enough that it felt very painful because I was close, if you know what I mean. Everyone's been in these types of games before. And this was a super frustrating one. But going forward, it taught me quite a bit about the lineup and when to use the Pokemon. Alright guys, so now we're halfway through our 50-game challenge of using the Kanto starters. After 25 games, my record is 10 wins and 15 losses. So let's start by talking about the things that are working with this team. So I have to say that all of our items that we picked, the Focus Slash on Charizard, the Leftovers on Blastoise, and the Assault Vest on Venusaur have all been very effective for what their purpose is. The Focus Slash has given me more opportunities to get damage off using Charizard, and the Leftovers have kept Blastoise alive in some tricky situations, along with Protect to get a combo of about 20 health in a round, which is enough if you need to survive a half health kind of hit from your opponent. The Assault Vest, I think, has been working pretty well, but I'm not too sure because I don't know how to measure that. But my Venusaur hasn't really been, getting any of these status moves used on it or getting killed in one hit very often. Now let's talk about the things that aren't going as well as I would have liked with this team. So number one is the Focus Slash. Yes, it's a super beneficial item and it's helped me, and I already said that in the positives. But man, I would kill for the heavy boots. The Charizard getting hit for 50% of its health by a Stealth Rock is absolutely criminal. And I've had that happen to me multiple times. The only reason why I'm not going to switch the item is because there hasn't been that many people using Stealth Rock that I've actually encountered. For that reason, the Focus Slash is going to be more applicable consistently than the Heavy Boots would be. Next is my inability to really hurt rock-type Pokemon. Both my Charizard and my Blastoise have a vulnerability to rock. So if I'm playing against a Pokemon that has any kind of rock move, my Charizard and Blastoise are just kind of irrelevant. And he can, one Pokemon wipe two of my Pokemon, meaning I only have one Pokemon left for all three of his. And my Venusaur can't really 1v3 like that. Something else that I've noticed is it's incredibly difficult for me to battle against electric types. I don't know what it is, but I can't beat them. If I'm doing something wrong, please leave a comment down below and explain to me what I'm doing wrong against electric types, because it just feels like I can't get anything off. Another problem I have with these Pokemon, to be honest, as well, is my speed. My speed on Venusaur and Blastoise is basically 0. So if I want any hope of getting a first move off, it has to be from my Charizard. But obviously, Charizard's a strict Fire Dragon type, and it just doesn't have that many utility cases, I find, in some of these matches. Overall, so far, halfway through, this team just feels like it has a lot of strengths, being that the Pokemon are, grass, fire, water. I can really damage certain types of Pokemon really easily. But others, I feel like this team is just kind of useless. So with all that being said, let's get into our next set of games, and I'll see you guys in the conclusion of this video. Alright guys, so here's our next game. As you can see, the opponent uses this Grimmsnarl, and guys, this is a game that was honestly very infuriating for me. As you can see, he was Shockwave and immediately paralyzed my Charizard, so I'm like, I'm not having any of this. So I try to bring out my Venusaur, but eventually you're going to see here that it just falls to the same fate. Although I think I still did get my Sludge Bomb off, which is good for later, as you guys will see. Like that, that's all of the Grimmsnarl that we're going to see for now as he withdraws them. And he brings out a nice shiny Dragonite, where I use Sludge Bomb and it does nothing. Looking for something that's going to be a bit more effective, I go to my Blastoise because it knows Ice Beam. Ice Beam is a move that, it worked pretty good, except this Dragonite kept using these defensive moves like the Safeguard there. And boom, it took out half his health. Beautiful, right? I use Protect is my next move here. So I use Protect, and well, the Dragonite uses Safeguard, but it fails. So basically a wash of a round. I go back in, and I'm thinking, let's go for the kill as I select Ice Beam, looking at this Dragonite with half the health. But he has different plans, and he turns his Dragonite into an extra Dragon type, I guess. Uses Hyper Beam, and well, it's kind of irrelevant. My Ice Beam, though, doesn't do nearly as much as it did the first time around due to the Safeguard. It does only half. As you can see, one Ice Beam takes down half the health, and you need 3 more Ice Beams to actually get through the rest of the Dragonite. But hey, in the end, we got there. The Dragonite is, in fact, gone, and my Blastoise gets a little leftovers for the win. Then we got this feller, and I'll tell you, man, this was tough. When I went in there, I tried to use Hydro Pump, and it was pretty effective, right? But then this Salt Curl really started to hurt me after every single round, as this guy just started kind of using Protect and other defensive moves. So I couldn't do anything about it. And this is a strategy that really bothers me, because there's really no way of getting out of it other than just kind of hoping you can outlast your opponent. As you can see here, we go for another Hydro Pump. I think this is the time that it might actually finally land. Except he uses Wide Guard, so it doesn't do as much. But hey, we got him out with a Hydro Pump. That's pretty beautiful after you ask me. And my Blastoise is, looking pretty low health, and the rest of my team is paralyzed. But we got Grimmsnarl back, baby. Let's finish this guy. Ice Beam, boom. He kills my Blastoise. Oh well, it happens. But you know what? We got this guy in a really great spot, and you guys are about to see what happens. He rage quits. So let's go. Free win, baby. Here we go into our very final match of this Kanto Starter 50 game challenge. As you guys see, we start out here with Venusaur this time, but immediately go to Charizard because we're facing a Skarmory. And it just had a better matchup due to types. It goes ahead and uses Stealth Rock. That's the reason why I wanted to play this game, because it demonstrates a very tough challenge that I've had. As there you go. Blastoise hurt by the Stealth Rocks. Doesn't matter too much, though, due to leftovers. We get a quick Hydro Pump in, and boom, we kill it. And we are on to the next Pokemon. And here we go, our opponent puts out their Blaziken, which is a pretty interesting decision, given that I have Blastoise out, a very clear water type. I try to go for Hydro Pump, doesn't work. The Blaziken keeps using Low Kick, man, and it hurt me really bad. But eventually here, I do get a Hydro Pump, and bam, there goes the Blaziken. And then onwards to the opponent's Basculegion. This is a Pokemon that I've never really seen before. But man, it came out and it went to town. So I used Protect to try to give myself a little bit of time for leftovers. Give me a little bit more health. Maybe just hopefully get one attack off. But no, we used Last Respects. Blastoise is instantly gone. I go to Venusaur. You know what? This is a water type, right? It's a fish. It's got to be a water type. I go for Giga Drain. It's a water type. We're going to do good. Nope. He terraforms it into Ghost. And then it uses Last Respects. Destroys my Venusaur. Absolutely wrecks my Venusaur. Then Charizard goes out. And half health because of the Stealth Rock from earlier. I go for let's try and hit a Flamethrower. I go into Terra with Charizard. Last Pokemon, why not? Let's put everything we can into this game. Last Respects. Bam, unfortunate. This is a game that was really dumb, and to be honest, it made me very angry, and it's something that I ran into a lot with this team. I could either walk through people, or they walked through me with moves like Last Respect. So I have now completed playing 50 games of Pokemon using the Kanto starters being Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise. Now, out of 50 games, my record is pretty boring, but to be honest with you, I'm proud of it. And I went 24 and 26. 24 wins and 26 losses. I think this is a team that can shine incredibly bright. And I think that has to do with the simplicity of types. For example, Charizard being fire, Blastoise being water, and Venusaur being grass, and not a crazy mixing of different types like you would see in modern Pokemon. So it could win some matchups very easily, like you saw it with the Blastoise versus the Blaziken, although that might not be the best example given Blaziken is an older Pokemon. But there were a lot of times like that where the types just gave it an easy advantage. But this simplicity, I think, was also potentially the downfall of this team. Having a team this simple means you have to play incredibly smart, especially when it comes to switching out your Pokemon. You need to take advantage of the matchups that you do get, even if they are kind of rare due to, your type of versatility. Now, if you guys remember one of the early games, I had an opportunity to bring out my Charizard and do some significant damage. But instead, I opted for only an effective move by using my Venusaur and just kind of spamming Earth Power. Now, looking back at it, that probably wasn't the right thing to do, but my mindset in the moment was I didn't want to take the risk of swapping to my Charizard and letting the opponent get a free attack off on me. That did not sound ideal, but that's one moment that honestly, I wish I had back so I could go in and use my Charizard and do it properly, because you really got to take advantage of the matchups you get, because when you only got 3 to 5 elements in these 3 Pokemon combined, it is really important to take advantage of when you get opportunities. Now, to be honest with you guys, although my record was okay, I would never recommend using this team. I think it is way too hit or miss, and you run a massive risk of just getting whooped every single time. But with that being said, I think you could definitely take some of these Pokemon and build different teams around them that could be very successful. Like, for example, Venusaur. You get Sludge Bomb with Venusaur. You get Giga Drain with Venusaur. You can really build up a solid team around him and be successful. If you made it this far, I would really appreciate it if you would like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how you feel about this, what I did right, what I did wrong down below in the comments. And, pretty soon I think I'm going to release the same video, but with the Sinnoh starters. So if you're interested in that, subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.